Before we jump in, I want to set the stage for this video. You're about to go behind the scenes with an active 7-figure Etsy print-on-demand seller, and you're going to watch her create a design from scratch. Now, the real value isn't just in watching her make the design, it's understanding her thought process behind every decision she makes. You'll see the framework and process behind her entire strategy that allows her to consistently make best-selling designs on Etsy. So not only will you be able to learn from this, but you'll be able to plug in this exact process into your own Etsy business.
What I want everyone to take away from this video is that when you go to design, there should be no question in your mind what you're going to design. Like, you should not be sitting there feeling like, I have no idea what I'm doing, because this piece of what you do, yeah, it's creative, but it's also research backed as well, like every other part of the process. So today I want to walk you through what that looks like for me, and actually make a design or two at the end. I just want you to hear my thought process, and then hopefully you can take something away from it. But the foundation of design comes down to our HPP list, so our high potential product list, which here we're designing for onesies, and also our KDA vision board. So I want to go through these two pieces first to kind of tell you what they are. Don't let them intimidate you. This is really the heart of what's going to take away the guesswork out of your designing. So with our HPP list, high potential product list, we're essentially extracting data from 20 plus shops, 20 plus onesie shops through Everbee, getting them all into this document and then sorting them by total sales. And this takes the guesswork out of what markets we are going to launch into. So here you'll see that I've highlighted the ones that I've designed for. And then I take this HPP list and I start looking at the product links. I go through probably 200 in order to make my KDA vision board. So KDA stands for Key Design Attribute. It's pretty much just like the style of a design. And what we're doing with this is we're taking this product type and we're pulling out all of the pieces that make it up, all of the design pieces that make this work and make these designs sell. Because these top ones, this one has sold 18,000 times, 12,000, and then we get into 6,000, we keep going down, it's 500. So there's something about these onesies that are making them sell, and we want to reverse engineer that and have it inside of a whiteboard on Canva. And let me just zoom in and show you what I extracted from my HPP list for my KDAs. Now, when you create yours, you can make more than 4 reference images. Some people do 6, some people do 9. On this one, I did 4. But I saw that a lot of these designs had line art. They were boho. Some had sparkles and stars. We've got floral. We've got this Western kind of theme. Brown monochrome. Now here, notice that with KDAs, we're not talking about the market itself. So I'm just pulling out what the design looks like. So you're not going to have like the school KDA. You're going to have design elements that make up what's selling. So we've got patterns that are filled, hearts, some vintage kind of graphics, personified. You can name them whatever, as long as it makes sense in your head. So this, I was just thinking about food or objects that have been personified with faces on them, kind of like a playful doodle aesthetic, 3x3. We've got watercolor graphics selling. Retro wave is huge. And remember, the reason why we're doing this work up front is because it's going to take the guesswork out of our designing. Because when you go to look at the market, which we're going to do in a minute, you'll be able to see where the gap is. And then you can come over here to your KDA vision board and you can see which KDA you're going to use that is proven inside of this product type, and you're going to be designing with that KDA in mind, or you might be putting 2 together. When you guys are looking for these on your HPP list, it is vital that you put in a filter for the listing age and you change it to the last 12 to 18 months. I'll usually do 18 months, because you only want to be pulling out the KDAs that are relevant and that are selling right now. So I don't want to be pulling KDAs that are from 3 years ago. So make sure that you put that filter in here before you pull out your KDAs. So a couple other parts to this KDA vision board is that it's always evolving for me. when I go and I start searching onesies in general on Etsy, if I notice that something is a trend and it's hot now, I will come over here and I will add a section for it on my board. And then I can use these KDAs in designs as I see fit. Now, I'm not going to go all in on these new trending ones, but this is a way that you can be super competitive, especially in saturated markets, if you're doing something fresher that's just now catching in Etsy. So a couple of those include this watercolor bleed that Pint Size Premium has been doing. I pulled that one in here. We might design for this one today, actually, with AI. We'll have to see where the gaps are in the market. The whole Amalfi Coast thing. This is kind of like a softer watercolor that has been selling, and it looks like these are AI generated. So I put that one in here. And then stripes as well are not on my original list, but I noticed them selling. Now, if I zoom out, I also see down here, I write down the formatting. Just so that I know like the different kinds of formats that I can do on the onesie. So if I feel like I'm at a loss for what to design, I can come in here and I can say, okay, I could do arched plus straight, and it breaks down further what's going on inside of the product type. So we've got that, we've got arch graphic, straight, text plus the icon below it, text around a graphic, with a couple reference images, left align text, sometimes it has a graphic on the right side, graphic and then text under it, text only, and then there's like little text underneath these graphics themselves. So just having that there as a reference point if you feel like you don't know how to orient your design. And the last thing would be taking the time to pull out fonts that are working inside of the product type. And I know fonts are a big deal for a lot of people, but it's going to pay off if you do the research up front and you find the fonts that work. A lot of people that I work with and coach, they will put fonts underneath each of these KDAs. So it would be like specific boho fonts, specific vintage fonts, so that you know whenever you go to fill a gap in a market with a vintage design, these are the fonts that you're going to use. Then it really takes the guesswork out, and you're just coming in here determining where the gap is, which we will go over together with this market as our example, and then designing with those fonts. And the cool thing is that once you make a design, let's say you make a really cool vintage design with a font, you can even have a library of designs in here over here on the side. And it could be like your vintage design. And then the next time that you see a gap for vintage, you can just come and grab the design that you've already made, if it makes sense, tweak it slightly and put it in that market. And then it becomes kind of like a template, a design template document for you. And it really speeds up your design process. Now, I know a lot of people, they kind of just like shoot from the hip blindly in terms of design. And this changes everything. Like Joy, I had an interview with her on my YouTube channel. This is the one thing that has allowed her to scale to $11,000 per month, because it took the guesswork out of the way that she's designing. So lean into it. If you're part of ICP and you know about the KDA vision board, but yours is like halfway done, I would go back to it because it is the foundation of what we do. Now, we are going to start looking at parallel markets and how you can also reference those in order to make designs that will sell. But you have to have this starting point before you go do that, because if you don't, then you're just going to start looking at parallel markets and grabbing. And at some point, you just become blind to the whole process and you're hoping that things sell. So this is definitely the foundation. Now, for the fonts, I pulled out the type of fonts that were selling and I wrote them in a column here, and then I went and got some examples of those fonts in here to just grab when I'm designing. So let's say if I'm designing on this page, then I'll just come over here and copy and paste them onto my document, try it out, see if it works. So that's the KDA vision board. I needed you to know that foundation before we get going. So the one that we're going to design for, so you guys know Jessie did the video on the onesies. So with onesies, I went and I pulled Pint Size Premium's data from Everbee, and I downloaded it and I filtered it to the last 2 years. And I noticed that at the top of the list for onesies, not children's shirts, they had these two micro markets. So one was Silly Goose on the Loose, 15 months old, Dog's best friend, also 15 months old. If you've been around POD for any time, you know that both of these are saturated markets, super competitive. So I decided that today we're going to design for Dog's best friend so that you can hear my thought process on how I would design something in order to stand out inside of this saturated market and add value to the market. Inside of Dog's Best Friend onesie, this came up, and this is such a big hitter. So 23,000 sales. It's the one on my list that has sold. Actually, I don't think it's the one up here that has sold the most, but regardless, it's sold 23,000 times. 6 people bought it in the last 24 hours, so I know it's still active. So I was looking at this one kind of for inspiration to see what did they do. But the first thing that I do is I'm going to go to a private window or incognito, and I'm going to search the micro market. So I'm going to type in Dog's Best Friend onesie and just see what's happening. I'm going to look on the first 2 to 3 pages. I used to only look on page 1, but I do know that now with the whole AI thing and Etsy using AI, they're spritzing page 1 with a bunch of different things to test out. So I just want to look at the first 3 pages to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So we've got here, I know these are ads, but I still look at them if they say popular now or bestseller. We've got a lot of embroidery happening. So what I'm thinking of is, how am I going to stand apart from these people that are selling embroidered items? If you want embroidered, you're just going to buy embroidered. That's not the name of the game here. But I still want to ask myself, is there something that I can put up here if it gets to page 1, when it gets to page 1, that they're going to be like, oh, I want that more than I want an embroidered item too. So here they've got some dog photos where you can see that they are converting the dog onto the onesie, which is a lot of value. So we've got new best friend. Let's see. Just text only, still embroidery. We've got the line art one here. We're looking at the KDAs. Another line art one. You'll notice that a lot of people, they just grabbed this Nala's name. They think that Nala is the thing that is selling this, which is hilarious. Here we've got like this looks like vector art. It's an ad, so I'm not going to click on it, but more bright, colorful vector art, maybe from Creative Fabrica. We'll see. Line art again. So we're calling these out because I need to know what KDAs are being overused, what is being underused, what can I go to my KDA vision board and look at and say, okay, this is the gap in the market. That's why I'm just looking at the whole thing and seeing what's happening. So we've got another colorful vector like that, more embroidery, someone trying to recreate this one that sold so much. No images. I'm also asking myself, what is going to add more value than what's already here? So here you'll see on this one, they have a badge that says color editing. So they can change the color of the animal. They can add the wings. They can add the Santa hat. We've got retro wave happening here. Not too often though. That was the first time I saw it. Most people are doing the photos. Here they're standing apart by showing that there's a cat that they can put on the front. I think it's vital that we include 2 animals on the front because this is how these people are standing out. They're showing you that you can have 2 animals. Just at a glance, you understand that. So we've got more of the same, the line art, the vector. Okay, here's something different. We've got the ears, the line of the ears. Same. This is a photo that's been directly put on that. This is not an ad. Side note, if your apostrophe looks like that in your font, do not use it. Okay. And then we're pulling over the photo here. Okay, so we are seeing a lot of the same. We're going to go back over to our planning document. I'm just going to start planning. I plan for my design before I start doing it. So the value points are, I will actually write this on my design document. The value points are what you have to have in your listing. You can't just throw these away. So the value points here are, I need to have the dog faces. It needs to say dog name and dog name new best friend. I need to have 2 of the faces to drive that value point. Okay, so those are just the non-negotiables. That's what I have to have. In terms of overused, these are KDAs that were being overused. So if we go back to our reference point here, we know that the line art was being overused. Those graphics were not exactly watercolor. They were more like a vector image. So I'm going to throw that on there anyways and say vector image. Those were the two that were being used a lot. Okay, so the overused, we're going to do the line art and the vector colorful image. And of course, the embroidery, which we don't have to worry about because we're not doing that. That is the overused. Now we're going to go see what the underused is. So this is what you need to be doing in order to fill a gap in the market. The primary way that you need to be doing that is coming over here to your KDA vision board, seeing what was being underused, and going with that for your design. Because these are proven. The last 2 years, last 18 months, I pulled it directly from the research. This is what is selling, and this is what takes the guesswork out. At this point, you have to ask yourself, what makes sense? Like, does boho make sense for this? No. Line art, we're not doing that. It's overused. Stars and sparkles, okay, maybe I throw that in at the end of the design. Floral, no, I'm not going to throw some dog heads on top of floral. Western, we're not going that route. So you just look through here and you see what makes sense. Pattern fill, no, it's going to have a lot of text on it, so that won't work. Hearts, vintage. I did think, so when I was looking at vintage, I was thinking, well, maybe I could do some kind of AI conversion to make a vintage image like this out of their dog. That's just a thought. I'm not necessarily going to go in that direction. 3x3, no. So I'm looking through here. Watercolor. If I go over here to the trends, similar to watercolor, there is this trending watercolor. And I want to pause to tell you, if you are designing for a super saturated market, you have to do something like innovative, something over the top in order to break through in that market. Now, if you're in the middle of your HPP list or at the bottom and the markets are less competitive, then inside of those markets, you can just pull one of these over here. So for instance, let's say that we're designing for like Mimi's Bestie. Let's say that that's our market. And we go and look at the market and no one is doing a monochromatic, like retro wave design. No one at all. That's going to be the obvious direction that I go in because no one is doing that and it's proven. But with that being said, this market, super competitive and it's kind of more specific. So I think the direction that I'm going to go in is I'm going to try to reverse engineer these watercolor designs that are doing well inside of onesies right now. It's only been a few months where these have been up and doing well. But we're going to go to ChatGPT and we're going to reverse engineer this and see how to make it. Okay, guys, before we reverse engineer this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go look at that big hitter listing and I just want to analyze it first because I want to know, why are people purchasing this? My thought is, I feel like people would want to purchase something where they can have their own dog photo converted to it. So what I want to dig into is, why are they purchasing this line art, pre-made art? So let's just look at it. Luna and Max's new best friend, and they have this page full of breeds, this page full of breeds, this page full of breeds. They can choose their color. So what I think is, some people, they may not want to go to the trouble of getting their dog photo, making sure it's perfect, sending it in. So they like these preset breeds here. So what if, once I figure out this whole thing with AI, what if I make all of these breeds but make it in that watercolor version and put it in here? But now Etsy allows us to have an upsell where we can add personalization and they have to pay more for it. So maybe there's a page inside of my mockups where they can send me their dog photo and I can convert their specific dog if they don't want to choose the breeds. And that's going to charge them like $5 to $10 more for that. So it's the best of both worlds at this point. They can choose from these preset breeds and then they could do that. Now, I know you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot. Like, I'm not going to go to this much trouble. You're not going to have to go to this much trouble for most of your listings. But I just want to make a point that if you are wanting to compete inside of a competitive market like this, you're going to have to. So that's going to be our plan. We're going to do the two faces. We're going to do them with this new KDA. So let's design it. Let me show you how I do that. I mostly use ChatGPT and Nano Banana inside of Kittle, and I will compare the two in terms of what it looks like to see which one I like the best. So I will grab, let's see, I'm going to grab a screenshot of these. Then I'm going to go into chat and I'm going to pull it over. And I'm going to say something like, can you help me create a prompt for this design style with a watercolor bleeding outside of the edges of the design? I'm going to be using it for dog breeds. I don't want to have to upload a photo of a dog breed. I want to just be able to tell chat, hey, can you make this one for a Maltipoo? Can you make this one for a golden retriever? So I want to kind of ask and see if it's going to be able to do that, which it should be. I also don't want to have to upload individual breeds as reference photos. I just want to be able to tell you. I get really wordy with chat. You could try it with just a simple prompt, but I just want to over explain it and see how they do, so how it does. Sorry. So I'm just going to reiterate what I said at first. Can you give me that prompt for the watercolor design? Let's just see what it spits out. The style isn't just watercolor, it's a very specific color wash behind crisp black line art, where the watercolor intentionally extends beyond the outlines. That's what gives it the handmade children's book, boutique baby apparel feel. For consistency, I'd avoid saying based on a photo. Instead, describe the breed characteristics that matter and let the model generate the dog. So we'll see. So it gives me a prompt. If this works, we can put the prompt in the description for you guys to use. Create a premium boutique style dog illustration featuring a dog breed. Okay, let's just grab this. I'm also going to say, can you give me an optimized prompt for this for Nano Banana? Because it may tweak some things. And then we'll compare the two. Nano Banana really responds well to prompts that clearly separate style, subject, composition, constraints. Here's how, okay. So we're going to grab the Nano Banana prompt first. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come over here. For Nano Banana, I feel like I have to have a reference photo for it. I'm not super sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go over here to Canva. We're going to go to Elements and type in Golden Retriever. Go to the photos. Try to find one, that's not too stock photo-y. I guess it doesn't really matter here because they're the preset designs. So let's say we go with this one. Okay, I'm just going to take a screenshot so I don't have to go through the whole thing of downloading it. I'm going to pull it over here into Kittle and put it on my artboard. I'm going to expand it top to bottom. I don't really think this matters, but you can click on the title of the artboard up here at the top, and then you can just pull the sides in to make it exactly the right dimensions. And then click on, let's get out of that, click on the title again and click on AI image board. So this is like the AI, it's going to convert it from the photo to this. And then I'm going to paste my prompt to make sure it all pasted here. Create a premium illustration of a golden retriever like you see in this photo. I'm just going to add that in there since I did add the reference photo. And then just go with the prompt. And I'm going to go ahead and generate it. Okay, so while that's thinking, let's go back over here and grab our prompt for Chat GPT. And just so you know, according to Etsy's terms of service, you do have to disclose if you're using AI. So I will show you what I would put in your description at the bottom just to cover yourself. But of course, we're going to be altering it with the text. So it's not just the AI image. We're adding some things ourselves. So we're going to grab this and go to a new chat, paste it, and then I'm just going to type in golden retriever and we can compare the two. Okay. So over here, this is the one that Nano Banana gave us, and I really like that. I like that it's bleeding out of the sides. One issue that you need to just take into consideration is that the onesie is a natural color, and so I still think this is going to be fine. As long as you have the black outline, it's not going to be an issue, and these darker portions are going to show up as watercolor, so I think it's going to work perfectly fine. Just keep that in mind. So we're going to download it. So I click on the artboard and I go to quick export. I'm going to do 2x, probably 3x, just to make sure it downloads at high quality. Advanced settings and remove background, optimize quality. Sometimes I'll change this up here to 300 DPI, probably not a big deal, but I'm going to export that and then come back over here, and this is where we're going to start our design. Okay, sometimes, yeah, it does janky stuff like this, and it downloaded with that in the background. You can re-download it from Kindle, and then it could probably get rid of it, but I'm just going to hit background remover and see if it'll go away. Yeah, it did that pretty well, and it kept the watercolor that's going outside of the edges. Now you'll see that it does look not high quality, so when you're in here inside of Canva, click on the image and go to edit and go to upscale, and just let it upscale your image to make it more crisp. All right, and then, yeah, it's still not as crisp as I would like it to be. So what I would do is inside of Kindle, when you're starting, make your document size 3000 by 3000 instead of 1200 by 1200. Yeah, because it's just a small file right now, and that's why it's doing that. So just make sure that you do that. Oh no. Okay, so you could go in this whole direction. I feel like chat's going to do better if we give it the image. That's really bad. Let's try again. Let's give it another shot here. So we're going to copy the prompt, and we're going to throw in the screenshot of this. Kittle ones. I'm just kidding. Okay. Yeah, let's give it this image. Maybe you're going to have to. If you go this direction, you're going to have to upload every single breed photo. And remember, don't be intimidated by this. I'm just showing you the thought process for something that's super saturated. Okay, so while that's generating, what we're going to do is we're going to determine what font we're going to use. So remember here, a lot of people, what they were doing is this kind of typewritten font. And we are standing apart in our artwork, but I think we can also stand apart in the font that we use, and we can use one that's proven in the market. So I'm going to come over here, and this might be the point where you go back and you reference the market and see what other kinds of fonts are working. But I remember that this kind of like handwritten font was doing pretty well inside of this dog market as well. So I'm going to pull one of these, or a couple, and let's just see. Let's see. I'm going to copy them, and then I'm going to put them over here. So far we're going with this second kind of image. And remember, we're going to have 2 dogs. And it takes troubleshooting. Like, one thing that I'm thinking about is maybe I don't need the whole body of the dog. Maybe I just need the chest up. At that point, you're going to have to prompt it differently in order to get that. But let's go with this for now. And we're going to say, this is also where I will go to Google or AI, and I'll type in, like, what are the most popular dog names, in hopes that I'm trying to let them see their dog name and it resonates with them. I think that's really important. Like, if you're designing for something and you use names that are super, like, it's an 80-year-old's name and it should be like Olivia or Hannah or Jake, I think it can be a disconnect for the customer. So just make sure you're cognizant about that. So we'll just put Gizmo, because that's my dog. And, gosh, why can I not think of a dog? Rocky. Okay, we're going with Rocky. Okay, this is the AG Can You Not font. Let's just duplicate that. I hold down Option and I pull it. And then I'm going to do New Best Friend in all caps. And you are going to have to be careful because look, when I tried Jenny over here, the spacing between the J and the E was weird. So if you ever have something like that happening, you can just duplicate it, you know, do the J by itself, do the E and NY by itself and put them together. Don't just settle for that kind of spacing. It needs to be uniform. Gizmo and Rocky's New Best Friend. Yeah, I feel like that goes with the market. And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one. Usually I would try, you know, 2 or 3 different kind of font combinations and see which works the best. Gizmo and Rocky's New Best Friend. So remember, consider, do you want to chop it? Not like this, but you would need to chop it in the AI. Right now, for time's sake, we're just going to do that. And then I'm going to throw this in the middle here. Gizmo and Rocky's New Best Friend. This one, I'm going to tilt a little bit. And then we're going to get the second dog and we're going to put it on the other side. Now let's go see if chat did any better. It did better, but it's not what I need. So I'm going to go with the Nano Banana version here. And what's, I want to encourage you, if chat's all you have, that's okay. Chat GPT creates really solid imagery. So you're just going to have to work with your prompt again and again to get it to where you need it to be. But yeah, so what I would do inside of Kittl, if I was using it, I would just copy these two. I'm going to hold down Option and pull them. Well, I'll just do this one. Pull it here. Go ahead and drop another dog face here. And okay, so we're going to grab this little dog and we're going to screenshot him and throw him into the Kittl. And then we're going to finalize this design. And I'll talk you through how we're going to finish it up. Okay, we are going to grab this prompt right here at the bottom and copy it, paste it, and then generate this, and we can pull him in and finish our design. So on this one, the watercolor didn't really bleed outside of the beagle, so I'm going to have to work with it because it doesn't look uniform with this golden retriever, and we really need it to. So if it's not working, then you can do a couple of things. You can regenerate it, you can tweak the prompt, or you can pull in another image that is more likely to do well. I feel like the pink is throwing this one off, so I'm going to regenerate this one. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get a different photo of a beagle and see if that works better for us. All right, this one is a lot better. Yeah, so this is more of what we're needing here. So we're going to, that was a learning point to where if you have like some kind of colored background, it may not work exactly. So use a white background. Now we're going to export this one and pull it over. Remove that background again and upscale. He's a puppy, so we're going to make him smaller. Let's just keep the whole body for these because they're going to look better. Let's see. And we have a lot of space to design with on the onesie. So let's zoom out and optimize our spacing here as we finish up. You always have to think, like, I know on the original design, the text was under the dogs, but it's going to look better if it's closer to the chest and the dogs are under it here, just because we decided to use their whole bodies. Gizmo and Rocky's New Best Friend. Let's just make that beagle a little bit bigger. And let me zoom in. And we've got him tilted a little bit. I really like to get quite close to the edge to optimize the space. It's not touching it though. Gizmo and Rockies. And I think I could also play around, since it's a puppy and it's smaller, I could play around with spacing. So I can make Gizmo and Rocky, it's a value point. So I'm going to make it large and put it here. And then I'm going to try to see if I can make this New Best Friend on 3 separate lines and decrease that line spacing. the artwork on your front mock-up, of course, matters the most. So, yeah, that's not really working because it's not centered. So we're going to make it a little bit smaller again. We're going to put it back on one line. Let's see. Let's try it on new and then best friend together. Because it's talking about the baby. New best friend. It's not really working for me. So what I'm going to do is make the golden retriever smaller and the beagle a little bit larger. I should have just gone with 2 full-grown dogs. And I probably would for the front mock-up. But remember when we were looking at the parallel markets and we saw like the paw prints and the hearts? I feel like that could fill some of the space here for me. And also, I know you guys get to see my frantic brain here, but the Rockies is not working for me because it's coming down like this. Now, of course, if someone gives you their photo and their dog's name's Rocky, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to design it the way you need to. But for the front photo, I'm going to be very particular. So that's going to allow me to put new best friend a little bit closer. And then I can go over here to elements and do some doodle hearts. Graphics. And let's see here. I need something that's kind of sketchy, like the edge of the dogs. Okay, I'm going to try these, and then of course, I crop them. Which heart do I like the best? I think I like this one. I'm going to crop it in and make it much smaller because it was just like a little accent piece. Tilt it towards the beagle. Let's see, I can flip it horizontally because I don't want the beagle to only have hearts or the golden retriever not to. Go back to my crop and grab a different heart. Like, manipulate the graphics that you're working with flipping, trying these things. If you're putting it on the outside, I think it needs to be angled inward. And then it's kind of off balance because this one's tilted towards him and then that one's not. That doesn't look great. Let's flip it again. Looks more natural flipped that way. And I might decide that this is too much, that it doesn't need these. I think it does need something in that space though. Maybe I would try some sparkles too, or look at this. Remember on our KDA vision board, it had stars and sparkles as one of the KDAs. So this is how you can, sprinkle those in, but you really don't want to go overboard here. This is looking a little bit like they might not be necessary. If you're not totally happy with the artwork for your front mock-up, you just got to keep working with it until it's exactly what you want, because that's your first impression. So let's find a different dog. Let's do this dog. And I think even though I don't have the body in the photo, that kiddo will still do that. It's got a colored background, so let's see how it performs. Okay, so I ended up removing that white background, which helped a lot, and you see that the prompt is working. That we'll put in the description where it's bleeding outside of the edge exactly how we need it. It looks like the golden retriever, so we're going to download this one. And we're going to pull it over here. Didn't like that beagle was too small just because we need them to be about the same height for this front mock-up photo without the negative space right there. Remove the background. I'm going to see what he looks like flipped or mirrored. So we're going to say bye to that little beagle. I'm going to tilt this one slightly this way and position him to the back because he does have more of that watercolor going over the edges. And let's see here. Select both of them. Let's just look and see what he looks like mirrored. So I'm going to flip him horizontally. Yeah, that works better because then they're kind of coming in on each other. And I think what I'm going to do here is duplicate him and then crop down to just his paws and place them back over here and then position that to the front. And then crop this in because I want his paws to be going over the tail. Okay, now this is not a big deal. We could just put him right in front right there. But if you do want to add on like a layered look, you can always go to eraser here. I'm trying to grab his paws and then let the tail still be visible behind. I'm going to go to eraser, and I like to use the pixel eraser the most. And then I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to go ahead and erase everything right here between his paws. And then we'll be able to see that golden retriever tail right there in the middle. And then I zoom out quite a bit. And make my eraser larger. And then we'll be good to go here and exit out of that. So now we have the paws with the gap in the middle. Let's get rid of this one that we did. And this is just for realism to make it look like he's standing right in front of that golden retriever. Okay, now that looks natural, like the tail is right there underneath the paws of the Bernese Mountain Dog. And I'm happy with our text up here. Everything looks good. There might be part of you that wants to add more, like hearts, paw prints, but I usually find that less is more in a lot of cases. So I'm going to leave it like this and not make it too busy. And this is going to be our design. So this is going to be our design for the front mock-up, but remember that inside of my mock-ups, I'm not going to just use the golden retriever and the Bernese Mountain Dog for every single onesie. I want to show the customer all of the different dogs that they could potentially choose. So we're going to have like probably 3 pages like that listing full of the breed options with this design style in it. And then when you see more of the lifestyle mock-ups, it's going to have different names for the dogs, different breeds. I see some sellers, they'll just use the same one that they created on every mock-up, but that really takes away from the customer experience. So you'll make sure that you'll put different dogs on the other mock-ups. And then we'll have to consider our page for letting them know that they can send us their photo, because they'll get into the listing and they'll be able to see, okay, I've got all of these breeds to choose from. My dog's a little bit different. And then boom, there's our photo inside of our photo templates where it explains, if you want to send your photo in, give them like the lighting, like do it like this with a check mark on that photo with bright lighting, and then we'll show them that they'll do that in the personalization section. We'll have to think through how we're going to do that just to let them know they can send in their own photo too.